As we look into the book of Daniel, I'm going to want to focus on two stories: the dream that Nebuchadnezzar saw in chapter 2, and the vision that Daniel himself saw in chapter 7. Why these two chapters in particular? Because they talk a great deal about kingdoms and prophetic visions for what's happening amongst these kingdoms. Why do I want to focus on kingdoms? Two reasons. One is because we already saw the central role of Exodus 19:6 in God's plan for fulfilling the Abrahamic covenant is that the way in which all the nations of the earth will be blessed through Abraham is that his descendants will be blessed as a treasured possession to become a holy nation and a kingdom. But why? To be a kingdom of priests to all the nations of the earth, so that God's original plan for the earth being filled with his glory can be fulfilled. So, kingdom plays a central role in the unfolding of that theme that we've been looking at all the way from Genesis 1 that stands as the central guiding principle all the way from Genesis 1 through Revelation 22 until it reaches its fulfillment with God and man living together in a global utopian Eden perfect environment in harmony. So that's one reason, is because of the role of kingdoms in God's unfolding plan. And then two is because where we're going off with all this is we're getting around to talking about Christian nations. Now, I've been using that phrase, Christian nations, but I could just as well have been saying Christian kingdoms this whole time. In fact, I probably would rather say that, but we don't really talk so much about kingdoms here in the 21st century. Throughout most of history, kingdoms have been a central organizing principle for humans. Usually, one layer above, you've got the city, the local level, and sometimes that itself could be considered a kingdom. Sometimes you just have one city and it has a king, and that is your city state kingdom all rolled together in one. But a lot of times a kingdom may be one step above the local level, and um, the kingdom includes a few neighboring communities, or maybe a somewhat larger area. Far above that level is an empire that it may encompass multiple kingdoms, multiple provinces, or whatnot. Um, but a kingdom is kind of the most important uh, governing entity, arguably, in Scripture. And so, um, just whenever I've said nations in the past, just interchange nations with kingdoms. The idea of a modern geopolitical nation state, the way that the UN has, the United Nations has 190 something nations in it today, and nice, cleanly drawn boundaries. All of this is largely a result of from my limited historical understanding, has something to do with the Treaty of Westphalia in, I think, the mid 1700s or so. Um, the whole modern nation state is really a post Westphalian concept. For most of human history before this, um, governing realms have been organized as kingdoms, and so uh, kingdom could just be taken as a generic replacement for a political entity. So we're going to be talking about Christian political entities that could be Christian empires, like the Byzantine Empire. That could be Christian kingdoms, like arguably the United Kingdom, the British kingdom in the period of colonialism. It could be what are called Christian nations. Many will call America a Christian nation today. But just more generically, we really want to talk about political entities, and kingdom kind of captures that in the biblical language. Kingdom is the best catch-all word for political entities that would fall under various maybe categories of throughout history in terms of what they're called. So, want to talk about Christian nations, Christian kingdoms, and so we need to look at what the Bible is saying about kingdoms. And Daniel 2 and 7 are going to be some key passages for that.